What's up, movie lovers? I'm Mike, and this is Gotta Love Them Movies. Alright, you guys, we are back. Today is Thursday. I've got a brand new face mask, Spaceballs, the face mask. I'm very happy with it. I'm very pleased with it. Thank you so much. I'm actually going to take this off. Guys, if you have some fun face masks, go ahead and take some pictures and post them in the comment section below. If you have like any fun or new or interesting or cool masks that you think are particularly interesting, yeah, go ahead and jump down to the comment section below and post your photos. I would love to see your fun face masks. So many cool face masks, so many cool different things. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. This is an online movie forum, or community rather, where we get together and just talk about all of our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and you know, all that stuff, everything regarding, you know, all the cool things that we love to nerd out about. Obviously, I'm a toy collector. I love to talk about toys, and also if I can make a reference to Toy Tuesday. Our new giveaway is a pair of Leonardo Ninja Turtle bandana, blue bandana sunglasses. So if you want to be in the running to win this pair of Leonardo Ninja Turtle blue bandana sunglasses, which is a New York Comic Con 2015 exclusive, it was one of the free merch that they were giving out at the booth. Go ahead and jump down to the comment section below and type the words Toy Tuesdays. Just type in Toy Tuesdays. That way I know that you want to be considered in the running. But you know, in order to qualify for Toy Tuesdays, there's a couple of things that you have to do first. First and foremost, you have to be a subscriber to the Gotta Love Them Movies YouTube channel. You have to like and you have to share this video. And then, like I said before, jump down to the comment section below and write the words Toy Tuesdays. It's pretty simple. It's pretty easy. No cost to you guys. It's a free giveaway. I have a huge collection, and I'm trying to make more room for my collection. So I've decided we're gonna start giving away a couple of toys here and there. Anyway, let's move on. You guys want to know what the show order is for today? As always, I'm gonna tell you how to subscribe to the Gotta Love Them Movies YouTube channel, and why that's important. Next, we're gonna take some movie news. Today is a special day. Today's Throwback Thursdays. Wednesdays is Review Wednesdays, where I do movie reviews of current movies. Throwback Thursdays are where I do movie reviews of films from yesteryear. So today's movie review is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. It came out 1 year ago this month. So we're just going to kind of talk about it and see if it, you know, still holds up, if it's still as good as we originally thought it was a year ago. We're going to open up the Gotta Love Them Movies mailbag, and at the end, we're going to take your live questions. So if you are watching this live, like I said, go ahead and jump down to the comment section below. Comment on anything that we're talking about. Comment on things that we're not talking about. Maybe I missed some movie news today. Maybe there's something that's been on your mind. Maybe you want to know how, you know, so-and-so, or, you know, how XYZ works in Hollywood. Like I said, excuse me, I just had a cheeseburger, and now it's wanting to come back up. Oh, the human body. Bodies are weird, you guys. Bodies are weird. Anyway, yeah, like I said, jump down to the comment section below and join the online community and the discussion. So you guys, we're just going to jump right into it. This is the Gotta Love Them Movies YouTube page. It's really rather simple. Go over to youtube.com, look up Gotta Love Them Movies, and you'll see that little red subscribe button. Go ahead and click on that red subscribe button. When you do, it's going to help build my subscriber base, and eventually, after we get 1,000 subscribers and you know, a bare minimum of 4,000 hours worth of watched content on the channel, that will make me eligible to start earning ad revenue, and I can start doing the show every single day and get paid for it, as opposed to doing it for free. Which, that's the dream, you guys, isn't it? Isn't that all of our dreams, is just to do what we love and to get paid for it? That's the dream. Anyway, guys, once we hit 1,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel, we will transfer the show from YouTube, or I'm sorry, from Facebook, where you're watching it live, and we'll be doing it live from YouTube. So anyway, keep an eye out for that. We still have a little ways to go. We're slowly but surely building our subscriber base, which I could not be more thrilled about. I could not be happier about. So far, it seems like people are liking what we do, what we're presenting, and, you know, being a part of that online community. So that always warms my heart. That really helps out a lot. And yeah, anyway, So that's how you subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's why it's important. And now it is time to move on and take a little bit of movie news.
What?
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 All right, you guys, it is time to take a little bit of movie news, as I just said. So we're going to jump over to Variety and kind of see what's happening over there. Here in Variety, they have an article listed as Disney's Raya and the Last Dragon has just recast Kelly Marie Tran as the lead role of Raya. Now, if you're not familiar with Raya and the Last Dragon, this is going to be one of Disney's new animated films coming out. Has an Asian lead character, and originally the character of Raya was going to be voiced by Carrie Steele. I do believe it says that down here in the article. Raya's voice was going to be, oh, sorry, Cassie Steele, excuse me. Cassie comes from both English and Filipino descent. I'm not entirely sure why they've decided to recast Kelly Marie Tran, which, if you're not familiar with Kelly Marie Tran, you may be more familiar with her work from The Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker in the latest two Star Wars films. She plays Rose. She plays the character of Rose. So if you weren't familiar with her before, now you are. You get to say, oh, that's who she is. I know exactly who that person is now. So anyway, they've gone ahead and recast the lead character of Raya as Kelly Marie Tran. I think this actually lends itself to some cool things. There is very much a push within Hollywood to try and properly match racial characters in animation, to try and say, oh, if you are a person of color, let's try and correctly match that person of color's like voice, like you know what I'm trying to say. The person playing the character, let's try to make sure that the character and the actor portraying that character are of the same, racial descent. It has been very problematic over the years. There are a lot of examples as to why things have gone down the way that they have. I think that this is a really great move. I think that anytime that we can look at stories like this and just kind of say, this is important. We have actors, we have people in the roles to play these parts. Let's try and cast appropriately. Having said that, I feel like this may upset a few people, and I apologize. This is my opinion. It's subject to change. Maybe somebody else will have an opinion different to mine, and maybe you can sway my opinion a little bit. But I feel like there are other aspects of life, other characters to be portrayed. I remember, two years ago? I think it was 2 years ago, Bryan Cranston played a man who was a quadriplegic in a wheelchair. And then Kevin Hart, I can't remember the name of the film. Kevin Hart played his caretaker, and it was based on a true story in that whole thing. And there was a small debate as to whether they should have cast someone who is disabled to play this character. I am very much of the opinion that an actor's job is to portray something that they're not, right? You're playing something that you're not. As an actor, as a comedian, as an improviser, I oftentimes find myself playing characters and things in situations that I'm not. On stage, as an improviser, that's something that we have to take very carefully, especially now. In the heightened existence of the world that we live in, it's something that we have to be extremely aware of and be careful of the types of characters that we play and how we play those characters. Anytime you're playing a character and you're doing it out of love and respect, and you're truly trying to respect that character, and you're trying to bring honor and justice and light to this particular character and their situation and stuff like that, I don't see an issue with that. Again, a case, an argument could be made. Maybe somebody else out there has a differing opinion on it. You may be able to sway my mind. For the here and now, in situations like that, I feel like and also Bryan Cranston is a huge box office draw. He's a huge box office draw. So sometimes you do need a big name cast in a kind of a role. Jared Leto. Jared Leto won his Oscar, Dallas Buyers Club, for playing a character that clearly he is not. Someone, you know what I'm talking about. The words are escaping me at the moment. My apologies. Forgive me for having a lapse of thoughts right now. Anyway, the whole point is, I feel like there are times, let's not make it the rule. There are times that it is acceptable to cast certain people in roles to portray characters that they're not. And there are also times where that is not acceptable under any circumstances. And I feel like this situation, getting back to Raya and the Last Dragon, casting Kellermere Tran, is a perfect classic example of we need to be more aware of this. I have had situations in my past where I have not been cognizant of some of the projects that I was working on, and people have called me out for it, and it hurts and it stings. And for the most part, people weren't trying to, come down on me and say, Mike, you're an evil human being. But they were, casting light on this and saying, this is an issue. You've played into, you fell into society's trap. But let's start this conversation. Let's keep it open. Let's keep it friendly, and let's keep it serious, because let's keep serious things where serious things need to be kept. Anyway, guys, do you have an opinion on this? Do you have a thought? Jump down to the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts. Maybe you have a completely different take on this that I haven't taken into consideration yet. Like I said, jump down to the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts. All right, let's move on. Our next little bit of news of the day comes from The Hollywood Reporter. This is from New Mutants. If you guys are anything like me, I have been looking forward to New Mutants ever since that I heard that it was a thing. 20th Century Fox, back when it was still a thing, they were hit or miss with their X-Men movies. They were hit or miss. I feel like they had more misses than hits. Dark Phoenix, it wasn't a terrible movie, but it's far from good. X-Men Apocalypse, 2 thumbs down. I hated that movie. X-Men Days of Future Past, 2 thumbs up. I really liked that movie a lot. I thought it was really good. Logan, can I give 3 thumbs up? Like, that was a fantastic film. X-Men Origins Wolverine, can I give 4 thumbs down? That is, with the exception of Catwoman. Catwoman is my all-time most hated. No. I don't even hate Catwoman. It's just a bad movie. I inexplicably hate X-Men Origins Wolverine. It's a bad movie. It was poorly produced. It was poorly made. It was poorly directed. The effects are awful. The story is stupid. The story is straight up stupid. The reason that this movie even exists is ridiculous, and it just, it grates on me. I hate that movie. I hate that movie so much. So you can see there is some division amongst the X-Men movies. When New Mutants was announced 4 years ago, 5 years ago, it's been a long time, you guys. New Mutants has been around for quite a while now. Maisie Williams, you look at Maisie Williams now, and then look at Maisie Williams in this photo. 2 completely different people. She was mid... Game of Thrones was halfway into its production when she made this. And I'm not talking a season, I'm talking the entire series. So that's how long ago this movie was made. It has been sitting on the shelf. 20th Century Fox didn't quite know how to do it, how to finish it. The director clearly had a very different vision than what the studio was going to go for. And now that it's under Disney, it just sat on the shelf for so long. They didn't know what to do with it. So they finally got the director back. He finished the film. Supposedly he finished it with his singular vision. I know there were supposed to be reshoots about a year ago, which doesn't make sense because all the kids grew up. You can't do reshoots 4 years later. It does not work. So they finished, I guess they finished the movie because guess what? It comes out in theaters tomorrow. It better be finished. It better be finished. Anyway, movie theaters are not yet open in New York City. I am dying. I really want theaters to open back up. And this is one of the movies that's close to the top of my list. I'm really looking forward to seeing New Mutants. I want to be a part of it. I want to see what they do with it. This is the last of the 20th Century Fox X-Men universe films. I'm really interested to see what they do with this because it was an interesting film. Another YouTube commentator made the comment the other day that towards the end of the run of, the 20th Century Fox X-Men films, Logan was a risk. It was an R-rated film. It was a risk. Deadpool was a risk. It was something that, somebody had a singular vision. Same thing with Logan. They had a singular vision. They went and executed that vision, and it was fantastic. And with this is the first time that we're having a horror film. I think horror is going to be in quotations, but they wanted to make a scary X-Men movie, and this is what we have with New Mutants. I think it looks interesting. I think it's brave. I think it's bold. I think it's daring. I think this is the kind of let's take a chance. If you change your mind, I'm the first in line. Honey, I'm still free. New Mutants on Friday. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. If this was the kind of movie that was coming out in theaters in New York City tomorrow, I'm all in. I'm all in. I would not be doing a show. In fact, I probably would do a show, and I'd go see an early screening of New Mutants and then come back and do the show tomorrow. But instead, Bill and Ted comes out tomorrow on VOD, and I pre-ordered it, and I'm very excited. But we're not talking about Bill and Ted. We're talking about New Mutants. So yeah, New Mutants. It's in fact, even for the box office, New Mutants is going to help drastically. New Mutants is one of those films that maybe not as anticipated as Tenant, or Black Widow, or James Bond, or Wonder Woman, or any of those other like high-profile films. This has been anticipated for a long time, like years, quite literally years, almost half a decade. Let that sink in for a second. Half a decade. This movie has been in either pre-production, production, or post-production. Comes out tomorrow, so let's see if that half a decade pays off. Anyway, guys, what do you think about New Mutants? Are you looking forward to it? Are you as looking forward to it as I am? Is it the kind of movie that just doesn't interest you? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, that does it for the movie news. Today, just like yesterday, is kind of a light movie news day. So if there's anything in particular that you want to talk about, I'm still going to do the review of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. We're still going to talk about some of the email questions that you guys have sent in. But if there's anything else you want to talk about, jump down to the comment section below and, just drop a comment. So, that being said, we are going to go into the Day of the Week special, and I really wish that I had prepped this beforehand. I think I'm good. I'm not entirely sure what is going to happen when I click this button. Let's see. This is the Day of the Week special. I'm so glad it worked. I'm so glad it worked, you guys. This is Throwback Thursdays. Thank you so much for joining me for Throwback Thursdays, where we take a movie from yesteryear. In this particular instance, this is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And we're just going to review it. 1 year later, does it still hold up? This movie has a 78 on Rotten Tomatoes, which is not necessarily an indication. I don't know if you guys are aware of Rotten Tomato scores. Let me, just in case you aren't, and if you are, bear with me, I'm just going to give you a brief explanation. Rotten Tomato scores does not mean how good the movie is. It's kind of an indication as to the quality of the film, kind of, but not entirely. All a Rotten Tomato scores means is how many of 100% of people that saw the movie, how many people actually like the movie. It's not technically an indication of how good or how poor it is. It just means how many people liked it. And either you liked it or you didn't. That's the scale. Like, dislike, that's it. There's no gradient. There's no, there's more algorithms, and, the deeper you can get into the Metacritic score and see what the critics say versus the fans, all that stuff. All that is embedded in there, and some of it is taken into account, but very, very, very little. The actual percentage score on Rotten Tomatoes just means how many people, both critics and fans, how many liked it, how many disliked it. So 12% didn't really care for Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, but 78% really did. Well, I can't say they really did, but they liked it. And I assume that probably even more than that really liked it. Even, you know what I mean. I'm not going to get into percentages. Anyway, I am one of those people that really liked Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I think this is a really fun film. I just rewatched it earlier this morning. I think it is the kind of film that, the Goosebumps movie is a completely different thing. It was basing its audience towards like a younger audience. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, similar concept, a little bit more of an adult audience, which is interesting because these books that the movie was based on were initially targeted towards like children. They're not scary stories. They're just creepy. The tone of them is really dark and just eerie. There's I remember there's one story, I can't remember the name of it. The whole idea is that there's this girl in a truck. She's driving her truck. It's dark. It's at night, and there's somebody in the back seat, and she doesn't know that there's somebody in the back seat. And this person in the back seat is gonna get her. And just as she pulls into the driveway, her father's standing there with the shotgun, yelling at her, and she's lost in the confusion. And then the shotgun goes off, and then she opens her eyes, come to realize, my father didn't shoot me. He shot the guy in the back seat. Whoa! And I guess that was the reveal. I think throughout the majority of the story, we had no idea that there was somebody in the back seat. Until, he got shot or something like that. Anyway, and it's just kind of like this weird and creepy, like, can you imagine? Like, you were in the car with this person the whole time and you had no idea. Like, what if? And I think that what if factor is something that really makes these stories jump out and become interesting and fascinating and spooky and creepy and eerie. Not necessarily scary per se. If you're a child, if you're a small child, you will probably be very scared of these things. The effects in this movie were done very well. They stayed very faithful to the books. I was really impressed. I was really, really, really impressed. With Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I like the direction of the film. For the most part, the acting was great. And so all that, let's jump into acting. Let's break this movie down. Let's talk about the acting. Everyone's acting was pretty good. I really liked the girl who plays the lead. Oh, shoot, what's her name? I literally just watched this movie this morning. The girl who plays the lead. I think she did a fantastic job. You believed that this was her world. You believed that, she was into all of the horror, zombie, Frankenstein type stuff. She was into that culture. Her two friends, kind of the goof off and the straight-laced guy. We did get a lot of character development from kind of the straight-laced friend, except that he's attracted to every girl. It was a little generic, but we'll talk about that in the writing. But in terms of the acting, like, everybody was very charismatic. Everybody did a really great job, with one notable exception. There's a character called Ramon. The actor who played Ramon was kind of flat. Everybody else was having fun with their parts. They were really getting into it. And Ramon's character just seemed very plain and basic. He was very peanut butter. He was fine, but I mean, meh. He could have, I feel like he could have had a little bit more fun with his role. I don't know if that was them not giving him anything to do. I don't know if that was the direction, or if that was just the actor. But all that is to say, the acting, for the most part, was really good. Ramon kind of brought it down a little bit, and for that reason, I give acting an 18 out of 20. All right, let's move on to directing. Like I said, the directing of this film, it was directed by Andre, oh shoot, what was his last name? Andre, he's from Sweden. Overbrook? Something, I can't remember. Andre O with like the slash inside the O, whatever. I love the tone of this movie. The tone alone of this movie, the look, the tone, the music was really good. The editing choices that they made, like, everything worked. Everything about this worked. There were times with the lighting. There was a weird thing with the lighting. Sometimes when they were like downstairs in the basement, the lighting was perfect and you could see everything. But you have to stop and ask yourself, like, where is this light coming from? And then later in the movie, when they go back down to the basement, it's very dark, and that light just isn't there anymore. And it's really difficult to make out on screen when there's no magic light. We're going to call it magic light. When there's no magic light just emanating and illuminating the room, it's very difficult to make out what exactly is happening. That being said, all in all, I thought, like, the tone of this was great. It was fun. It was adventurous. They kept the pacing, it was moving along. Yeah, I thought they did a really great job with this. That's why I'm also giving directing 18 out of 20. Moving on to writing. The writing of the movie. Writing of the movie was still really good. I take a couple of nitpicks. It wasn't a generic script because the characters were really well fleshed out. You know, with the exception of kind of like the one kind of like straight-laced friend. They didn't give him anything to do. He was just kind of there. Also, Ramon. Ramon's character, he was the outsider of the group, and he kind of, you know, through the course of adventures and whatever. If you haven't seen this, I'm not going to spoil anything. But Ramon ends up kind of being a part of this group of friends, and you're not entirely sure why. Like, he has no reason to join this group of friends and go on their spooky adventures or whatever. Hey, do you want to see a haunted house? Okay. I don't know who you people are, but okay, I'll go see a haunted house with you. Yeah, I mean, Ramon was easily the weakest. He was easily the weakest part of this movie. Everything else works, and it works really well. They know... In the writing process, they knew the target audience for this. It was going to be for kids between the ages of like 13 and 18. And that was the demographic for this audience. Maybe even a little bit younger. Let's say like 13 to 17, 13 to 16, 13 to 15. That's a 2-year period, but whatever. It was like that demographic of kids. You know, give them something like really spooky, really eerie to watch, and not completely scare them. But it's also grown up enough that it's not going to be the Goosebumps movie, you know? And I enjoyed the Goosebumps movie. Or, what was the other one? A House with a Clock in Its Walls. A really fun movie. But again, its target demographic was a much younger audience. So this was definitely more of an adult kids movie, if that makes any sense. They knew what they were doing. That being said, there's certain things that didn't quite line up. It takes a few logistical jumps There are a few logistical jumps, a little bit of Deus Ex Machina, but like that's to be expected in kind of like a spooky movie. My biggest complaint with the script is, again, much like the Goosebumps movie, is that this was based on a series of books that has individual stories contained therein. I get it. Like, all of the stories within Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark are short stories. I get it. I understand. So there's only so much that you can do with an extremely short story to, you know, pull it out and make it a like a full-length feature film. They did a very good job at that. I think with Goosebumps, I would have enjoyed seeing, you know, one book, one movie, instead of like 10 books or 20 books. Let's pack all those ideas or stories into one movie. I feel like this movie did this concept better than Goosebumps did. That being said, it would have been interesting to see, you know, one story, one movie. But that being said, they did it pretty well. So all that combined, I'm going to give writing, and the dialogue was pretty good too, except for Ramon. Ramon was just flat. 17 out of 20. Yeah, moving on. The takeaway. What was the overall takeaway of this film? You know, there's always a lesson to be learned anytime there's a horror film or a scary movie or, you know, something a little dark and creepy. There are always going to be lessons to be learned. This particular movie, there weren't a lot of... they didn't bring those lessons to the forefront except for the main antagonist. The basic story of the movie is that there's these kids who live in a town. They're being picked on by the school bully, whatever. But there's also this small town in Pennsylvania has this rich history, or dark history rather, with one of its former inhabitants named Sarah Bellows. Sarah Bellows. Sarah Bellows was a part of like this very affluent family back in the 1800s, and because she was born a little bit different, they mistreated her harshly, locked her in the basement. The official story was that when she died, it was because she committed suicide, as opposed to what really happened, which was her family just being like, you know what, you look different, you sound different, you're not one of us, we're gonna next you. So of course, like, supernatural, blah blah blah, her angry evil spirit lingered. There was also a sense of like voodoo in this movie, which I was like, that's kind of a cheap... If you want it to be supernatural, just let it be. Like, sometimes the world is weird enough, the world is crazy enough that sometimes, like, the unexplained doesn't need an explanation. It can just be weird enough by itself. And so I'm thankful that they didn't go down this route. They touched on it, like, oh, well, maybe it was voodoo, black magic, ooh. And then, you know, it was later explained, nope, not black magic. So it was kind of like, I get it. It was a red herring. And there's a few really well thought out red herrings in the film, which are really interesting. But yeah, the overall takeaway is that, you know, just because I think this is the moral of the story. Just because people mistreat you doesn't give you permission to mistreat other people. I think that's the main takeaway. It could have been hammered in a little bit better. You know, all that being said, I still thought it was fun. It was good. It was a decent message. It was a fun ride. So for the overall takeaway, I'm giving 19 out of 20, which leaves us to our last point of effectiveness. How effective was the film? This film did an incredible job. This film did an absolutely incredible job at you know, bringing its characters to life, making you care about the characters. This movie knew exactly what it was. It knew who its demographic audience was going to be. Knew exactly who its demographic audience was going to be. It knew what it was trying to do. It knew the limits that it could operate in. It knew how far it could go. It was really well thought out. except for Ramon. I keep going back to Ramon. I didn't care for the character of Ramon. Why couldn't Ramon have just already been a part of the group? Why did he need to be an outsider? Just make Ramon already a part of the group. And I'm not going to reveal Ramon's secret, but of course Ramon has a secret. Why couldn't he just have that secret and just, already be a part of the group without having this whole, who are you and now you're along for the ride? That was a little convoluted, but again, like, I'm willing to go along with it, whatever, that's fine. Overall effectiveness, this film nailed it. This film nailed it. It knew exactly what it was trying to do. It did it, and it also made a ton of money. It made a ton of money. That means people liked it. That means people went out to not just to go see it, but see it again. Maybe, again and again. This film knocked it out of the park. It checked off everything that it was trying to do. It knew exactly what it was, and it didn't hold anything back that didn't need to be held back. And for that reason, effectiveness, I'm giving it a perfect score of 20 out of 20, which leads the overall score of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is...
No, we juice! Chill, bud. No, but juice. No.
That's right, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, officially 92 out of 100. I think this is an excellent film. It's currently, like I said, it's currently ranked on Rotten Tomatoes at a 78. I think that this is better than a 78. And in fact, like I explained before, 78 doesn't mean how good or bad the movie is. It just means how many people liked the movie. That's it. That's it. Between critics and moviegoers alike, both combined together. So I give this movie a 92. I think it was really strong. It was really fun for what it was, for who the audience was targeted towards. And I really like movies like this. I don't like to be scared. Stephen King's remake of It was a great movie. That was a fantastic movie. It scared me to death. If you want to hear the full review, go find the review for It in my movie reviews. It was a great movie, but I will never watch it again because it scared me so bad. And that I still haven't seen the sequel. 4 months. I am not joking, you guys. 4 months with the amount of time it took for me to actually be able to go to sleep with the lights off. I was terrified of that film. I don't like to be scared. I don't like that feeling of being scared and paranoid and constantly looking over your shoulder. I don't like that. I like this kind of a movie, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, where it's more lighthearted. It's not trying to instill fear in the viewer. It's just really creepy and weird. And I love that kind of stuff. Anyway, guys, what do you think of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you somewhere in between? Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, what do you think of the score of 92? Do you think that's too generous? Or did you actually think it was a little bit better than 92 out of 100? Again, let me know down in the comment section below. All right, guys, that will do it for my review of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Like I said, I thought it was great. Now it's time to open up our Gotta Love Them Movies mailbag. Oh, yeah, Gotta Love Them Movies mailbag. You guys, if you want to get a main topic or question on the show, just jump down to, I always say this every single day, jump down to GottaLoveThemMovies@gmail.com. Just send me an email. Send me an email at GottaLoveThemMovies@gmail.com. If you have a question that you want to be answered live on the air, let me know in advance, and I can prepare like an actual answer and maybe a few other things to aid me in talking about it. But yeah, just let me know what's on your mind. What are your thoughts? Maybe you heard a piece of movie news. Maybe you have a question about how something works. Write me at GottaLoveThemMovies@gmail.com, and we will most likely address your question live on the air. Okay, guys. With that, we only have 2 email questions today, so let's jump into email question number 1. And this email question number 1 comes to us from Will from Los Angeles. He says, hey, I don't know if you saw this, but Tenet opened in Korea to $2 million, and it's not even the weekend yet. Should we see this as good news for Tenet and the overall box office? What are your thoughts? Will, thank you so much for that. Yeah, so Tenet, yeah, like I think I have the news article. I pulled that up earlier. There we go. Tenet tops $2 million in early Korea play, or rather, it was playing early in Korea. Yeah, it goes on with a separate story here, but oh, I didn't even bring that up. I was talking about it. You guys couldn't even see it. Hold on, let me go back to the browser. Where's my browser? I need to create a separate browser for this. My apologies, guys. This is okay. Here we go. So Tenet tops $2 million in an early Korea showing, and it's it's not even the weekend yet. This movie's on track in Korea. If things go the way that they're expecting it to go, it could reach between 12 and 15 million dollars. It could get higher than that, and that's just in Korea. This movie's opening all over Europe. It's opening in select theaters around the United States, Australia, New Zealand. It has yet to open in China. I think it's going to open in China next month. I think late next month. It's going to open in China. Yeah, I think that it's only been out for a few days in Korea. It's made $2 million. It's not even the weekend yet. I think that this movie really genuinely could. I don't think it's going to become a $1 billion film. It had the potential. If this was not a COVID world that we're living in, Tenet had the potential to become a $1 billion film. I don't think it's going to make $1 billion. In fact, I don't even think it's going to make. I don't know. It's possible it can make $500,000. In order for Tenet to break even, this movie's been delayed so long. The interest on the money that they borrowed from the banks, Warner Brothers, to make this movie, just keeps increasing with every passing week or every passing month that they're not making their bills. Interest keeps building. On top of that, movie theaters are taking a cut. On top of that, Christopher Nolan, in an unprecedented move, he's earning 20% of the box office. So, depending on how much money this makes, it's gonna lose money probably in the overall. That being said, in a COVID world, all things in consideration, you guys, this is actually kind of amazing. It means people are going back to the movie theaters. Now, South Korea has been hit with more COVID than it was planning. They have to deal with that. They will shut down theaters and, playhouses and, other like restaurants or whatever if they need to. And I know they're considering doing that. And it's not just South Korea, it's other places throughout the world. Here in the United States, we still haven't opened theaters in LA or New York. The two largest markets in the United States domestically, and we're not even open for business because we can't be. But yeah, all that is to say, there's a lot of interesting stuff here. If I had to make a guess, if I had to make a prediction, I would say that Tenet, at the box office, when it finally leaves theaters, I have a feeling Tenet is probably going to walk away, I'm going to say global intake, somewhere between 300 million. I'm going to say around the 300 million mark. I think people are projecting an overall take of 200 million. I think it's going to do a little bit better than people are projecting. I'm going to say 300 million. We'll see what the final count is in a few weeks, if not a couple of months. But we'll see. Guys, what do you think about Tenet? Do you think this has a potential to be a $1 billion film? Am I grossly underestimating what Tenet is able to do? Or do you actually think that Tenet is going to do less business than $300 million? And by the way, frame of reference, $300 million, that's a lot of money. But also consider the budget on this film was $200 million. They spent $200 million to make the movie. They have to spend another $200 million to advertise the movie. General idea is that whatever your production budget is, that's how much you should also spend on advertising. So if you spend $7 million, like The Invisible Man with Kate Moss came out earlier this year. They spent $7 million to make the film. They'll spend another $7 million to advertise the film. So that's general, calculating whatever. They spent $200 million to make this. You have to spend another $200 million on marketing just to make sure people go see it. And then you have to pay another 1.5% of whatever it makes to the box office. Because they're the exhibitors. They have to make money too. So, I don't know. I do not see this movie breaking even. And, then you also have interest from the banks that they still have to pay. So I don't see this movie breaking even, but maybe you guys see something different than I don't. Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, moving on to our second email question of the day. And our second email question of the day comes from Jay, just simply Jay, who lives here in New York City. He says, "Good afternoon, Mr. Brown." Well, good afternoon to you, sir. Or madam. I don't know. Didn't give me your name. It was just Jay. Good afternoon to you, fellow human being. And Jay says, "So I saw last night that you were doing a review of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark on the show today." That is correct. I started advertising last night. And I was wondering if you think there might be a sequel. I really liked the film, and considering where the film ended, it definitely opens itself up for a sequel. Any thoughts? Yes. And that's very interesting that you would say that, because I too this morning was looking over, after I watched the movie, I started thinking to myself, this was good. And again, no spoilers. It's a fantastic movie. I really enjoyed it. If you haven't seen Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, yeah, I had a similar thought when it ended. It does open itself up for a sequel at the end. I don't want to reveal too much of anything, and I'm not. Don't worry, I'm not. I'm just looking for where's this web browser? Where you guys? Oh, my life is a mess today. My apologies. All right, here we go. So here we go. I had to look up this article. It was in Variety. And this comes from back in April 23rd of this year is when this article was written. Andre Ovredal is the director's name. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark 2 is in the works with the same director. I think this is great news. I think this is fantastic news. The article says the original director, Andre Ovredal, and Guillermo del Toro, who was one of the co-producers on the film. I don't think he was a co-director. He was just a co-producer. And the writers, both brothers, Dan and Kevin Hageman, they're all returning for the sequel. This is music to my ears. I love this so much. The article says Paramount Pictures and Entertainment One will co-finance Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark 2. Hive Mind's Jason Brown and Sean Daniel are producing. I'm not familiar with their production company. I'm not familiar with those two individuals or gentlemen. I only assume that they worked on the first one. The second installment will be based on a story by Del Toro. This makes me very intrigued. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was produced by CBS Films and E1 Entertainment, which also financed the film. Here's the interesting thing. The movie grossed $105 million at the worldwide box office. I think that is incredible. $105 million. And I had to look up the budget, how much money they spent on this film. Here's how much they spent on the film. Around $28 million is what Google is telling us. So we're just going to say $28 million. So let's double that. That's what, 56. $56 million to make the movie, to advertise the movie, and then do another 1.5 on top of that. And math skills are evading me, so it's a 56 times 1.5, $84 million. So this movie needed to make $84 million to break even, and it made 105. So that leaves it with a profit of $21 million. That's pretty good. That's pretty good, considering all of you know, all the stuff, all the hurdles that it had to overcome, the ideas about this film, what people's expectations were going to be going in. This movie performed very, very well, and I'm very excited to see that they are going to be doing a sequel. We don't know when it's coming out. We just found out in April, which actually I think is kind of interesting. This news dropped in April, in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, which means if they dropped the news during the pandemic, they are confident in this film. If this was the kind of project that was going to be a little wavering, if they were a little unsure, they would not have dropped this news in the midst of the pandemic. And also, April was when it was worst in the United States. April was the absolute worst part of the pandemic in the United States. So they dropped this news at the worst time to have hope, because all of our other movies are getting pushed back. Everything's being delayed. Nothing's coming out. Movie theaters are being shut down. And then they drop this news bomb. Hey, if you liked this movie, we're going to give you more. We thought it was pretty good. We made money off of it. We feel confident that we can do it again. And it's also interesting to me that the story for Scary Stories 2 is going to be penned by Guillermo del Toro. In fact, this guy right here. There he is, little Guillermo del Toro. And he's holding, I don't know if you can see, he's holding a little book with a skull on it. That makes me very happy. So Guillermo del Toro is penning the script for Scary Stories 2. An original idea. Not that the first movie wasn't original. It definitely was, but it also like wove all of the other stories in. I liked the direction style from Andre Overdahl. I think it was done really, really well. I really liked it, and I'm really excited for Scary Stories 2. Question is, what do you guys think about Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark 2? Do you have a differing opinion? Are you also excited to see it? Jump down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, that does it for our email questions of the day, and we only have one topic left to talk about, which if you were here for the beginning of the show, you would know that now it is time to take your live questions.
Alive! It's alive! It's alive!
All right, guys, time for your live question. I really have to do something about that title card, because especially with the music, it just cuts off so abruptly. We'll see about fixing that in the future. Cool. So moving on to Facebook Live. A whole bunch of people are watching. Very few people are commenting. In fact, we only have one comment today, and that is from Izzy Christensen. Izzy, how are you? It's been so long since we've talked, so long since we've hung out. I hope you're well. I hope you're off doing wonderful and great things and having incredible adventures. Of course, this is a COVID world, so things are tough. Times are hard. We have to be creative with our endeavors. Anyway, Izzy asks the question, have you already mentioned Tenet, or did I miss it? I believe at the time that you asked this question, I had not yet gotten around to the Tenet news. However, specifically, what are you referring with Tenet? Are you talking about today's news, which was that Tenet drops... sorry, I just pulled up the webpage without flipping to the screen. Again, I am so underprepared, you guys. My apologies. There we go. If this was the news that you were talking about, Izzy, that Tenet tops $2 million in Korea, and then it has a really great chance to go off into to create a good amount of money in a COVID world. I mean, not a COVID world, this movie would, the amount of money it's going to make would be considered a flop, a huge flop. But considering the pandemic and, you know, everything else, I think this movie is going to do very, very well. Anyway, yeah, if that was the news that you were referring to, Izzy, then no, I hadn't talked about it, but now I have. Do you have other thoughts? What is it specifically about Tenet that you are looking forward to? For me, A few shows ago, we talked about how Tenet is receiving mixed reviews, mostly favorable reviews. In fact, I want to see, let's just look this up real quick. What is Tenet getting currently on Rotten Tomatoes? Tenet. Okay, so currently, Tenet has a Metascore score of 70. That specifically means how many, not just how many people liked it, but what was the quality. It is also on IMDb getting an 8.2 out of 10, and that's out of 14,000 reviews. So the critics are giving it a favorable score of 70. IMDb is giving it an 8.2 out of 10. So overall, people like this movie. Overall, people like this movie very much. There have also been some extremely unfavorable reviews. From what I've heard, this is the kind of movie, and this was my problem with Ocean's 12. You have Ocean's 11, which was an incredible film. It was brilliant. They reinvented the Ocean's concept or idea, like what is it to knock off a casino. I thought that was really clever. I thought that was really interesting. But with the sequel, you know, anytime you do a sequel, you have to do it bigger, you have to do it better, right? And not necessarily in the same way that you did it before, so that people have a little bit different expectations, whatever. From what I'm hearing from the negative reviews is that Christopher Nolan tried to outsmart himself. And not just that he tried to, he did. It sounds like he outsmarted himself. He tried to make it too smart, a little too clever, without bringing the audience along for the ride. Those are the negative reviews. I've heard a little snore fest. I've heard the action is incredible though. But in terms of the story, in terms of the storytelling, it tries to outdo itself in a way that is not favorable. So, I mean, but I don't know. I haven't seen the movie. These are just reviews. These are just things that I have heard and seen posted on YouTube, on Facebook, on Variety, Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, all that stuff. But do you have a different thought or a different take? Go on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, I believe that will do it for our live questions. Yeah, there was only one live question today, and that was from Izzy. So Izzy, thank you so much for participating. Thanks so much for being part of the online community. Yeah, I think that's it. I think this will do it for this installment of Gotta Love the Movies. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Thanks for watching. Thank you for sending in emails. Thank you for, just being here and just hanging out and chilling for an hour. What are we at? 58 minutes and 6 seconds. There it is. Anyway, guys, if you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is what Guillermo del Toro would want you to do. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We live in a weird world where everybody has different thoughts and opinions. So I ask that you please, please, please use kind words with each other. Open conversations, not trying to win conversations, just trying to let other people be heard. We live in a world where everybody wants to talk, but nobody wants to listen. Try listening for a change. And, like I said, try offering some kind words or maybe some words of encouragement or hope. Because I think we need some hope in the world and some love. We always need some love, you guys. Anyway, that's it. I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. Love you. I will see you tomorrow. Oh, by the way, we've got some really cool news for some stuff tomorrow. I will share that on the Facebooks later today. Anyway, guys, I'm Mike Brown. I'm out of here.